All right, hello, and welcome to Public Administration Week 4 at Stanton University. This week we're going to be exploring organizational theory, um, and of course with some of the specifics of Max Weber's theories on bureaucracy. But we're also going to be expanding into some of the more modern theories, including Taylor's scientific management approach, and a number of other administrative theorists as well. Um, Furthermore, we're going to talk a little bit about understanding the nature of research and the source of these theories. And a big part of that is to understand the nature of confounding variables, which will bring us to a discussion of some of the studies that took place in the past, like the Hawthorne studies, which were back in an electrical production facility in New Jersey back in the 1920s. There they found that no matter what the organizational psychologists wound up doing, it seemed that productivity increased. So, lights were turned up, production increases, the lights get turned down. You'd expect the production to decrease, but no, the production still wound up increasing. So what they found is that people knew that they were being observed, and so they tended to be more productive, knowing that the boss was watching, right? And that's kind of against the nature of the study. So, it's important to be kind of cognizant of the validity of any of these studies, especially if you're conducting your own research and exploring these kinds of ideas. A little bit of that discussion is going to have to turn to, what constitutes a valid study, and how can you make sure that the conclusions that you're coming to are based on the information and the research that you've conducted, rather than having some sort of an alternative explanation, right? And then, kind of naturally flowing from that, we have a bit of a discussion on ethics in public service as well. So ethics are basically, at least as far as public service is concerned, they're the expectations that are kind of placed upon you as a public servant, um, and in an effort to kind of showcase how adherence to ethics can go badly, or the dilemmas that may arise in determining ethical behavior and things like that. We have a couple of films that we're going to look at. The first, it's the film And the Band Played On. It's based on a book, which is all about the way that the AIDS epidemic was initially dealt with by the American Centers for Disease Control, the National Institutes for Health, and the federal government back in the 1980s. And then we have another film which is called The Deadly Deception, which is all about the Tuskegee syphilis study, which is sort of a big black stain on government research, and it occurred, not too long before World War II and the Holocaust. It was a study in which the United States government monitored the progression of syphilis in African American men in rural Alabama unto death. And even after the discovery of penicillin, which was, a very highly effective cure for syphilis, the study continued for about 40 years until 1972, before it was ultimately shut down. So, you have, even in in our modern history, instances in which research research studies and the gains from those studies have come about in very unethical, unsettling, and somewhat disturbing ways. So, as you watch those films and you learn about this stuff, to just think about, Um, think about all the things that could potentially go wrong in a study, but more important than that, think about ways in which and the reasons why we have um, ethical guidelines to begin with, right? And the ways in which that can turn sour very quickly if you're not being careful.